let you save the name of it, it just tells you which folder it goes in.
Good morning again. This time we're going to talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. It is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We have a triangle over here to the side. I know you already have this problem. I just want to work through it with you so you can see how you'd work it through. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is look at the triangle. It is a right triangle. I drew the box in because it is a right triangle, but sometimes you'll see that the box is already drawn. This is a 90-degree angle. It is a right triangle. That's the measure of a right triangle. Alright, so we have some sides here. We have side C. Side C is the hypotenuse, and it is the longest side. Okay, that's very important to remember because as we go through the process, you're going to have to find the longest side so you know what C is. We also have side A and B. As you can see, we have an A and we have a B. It doesn't matter which one you label. It could be B, A, or A, B. Okay, it does not matter. So what I typically do is I think of the bottom as the B. And this is just the way I do it. That doesn't mean you have to do it this way. So I use that as B, and I use this side as A, and then this is my C. Okay, so I have all my sides labeled. That is the first thing you should always do in your right triangles. Alright, so now we have to look at the formula. The formula tells me that I have to take an A and I have to square it. Then I add it to B squared, and it will equal C squared. So I have to use the picture to get my numbers for the values for the letters. So I look for A. I come over here. A is going to be 3. So I plug 3 in and put the 2 as a square. Then I take the plus, look at the B, find my B. My B is going to be 4. So I plug in 4, put the 2 of the power of 2, so it's squared, equals, and C is what we do not know. It's my unknown. So I'm going to just use C squared there. So next we have to take and we have to work through orders of operations. So we have to do the squaring. So 3 squared would be like 3 times 3. You can plug that into your calculator. You would get 9 plus 4 squared. 4 squared means 4 times 4. So you can either plug in 4 times 4 or you can take a 4 and square it. There should be a square button on a calculator that you could use. And you would get 16 equals C squared. So then I say, okay, 9 plus 16 is 25. 25 equals C squared. Now we have to get rid of the square. So the way to get rid of a square is to square root. So we put the square root around both sides. You must do it. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So the square root of 25, when you plug it in your calculator, should give you 5 equals. The square root will cancel the square, so these just cancel out, and I only have C left. So the answer for this particular problem, for this side, length would be 5. We just found out what C equals 5. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to go on to the next problem, which was one I think you had to fill in. But if you're using the Nearpod, I have 2 things. I'm going to give you 2 things. I would suggest most of you want to use the Nearpod over the just doing the PowerPoint. It's going to be harder to show your work on the PowerPoint unless you take your problems, copy them down, and do them on an extra piece of paper, and then take a picture and upload it to me. That is one way you can do it if you use the PowerPoint. If you use the Nearpod, I can see your work as you go through it. Alright, so the next problem you should have would be a triangle that looks like this. Okay, and the first thing again, you need to label your sides. So I have C already. It's my unknown, So I kind of put a question mark because I don't know what that is. And then I have my 6 and 10. So we have to label our sides. So we're going to label this. I'm going to label it A. I'm going to label this B. Again, you write the formula. You need to memorize this formula because it's very important. And you'll be using it a lot. So we have the formula. Again, we plug in the answers. All right, so A. We come over here to the picture. A is 6. So I say 6 squared. I look at B. B is 10 in my picture. Maybe you labeled yours different. Your numbers will be flip-flopped. But if you did your picture like my picture, B will be 10. So 10 squared equals C squared. Okay? So next, you have to take this 6 squared, and you have to take 6 times 6, or you can just put 6 squared. Well, that is 36. Plus, if you take 10 squared, what does 10 squared equal? Hopefully you got 100 on your calculator. Alright, so then we have that equals C squared. So next, you take 36 and you add 100. Well, what is 36 plus 100? Hopefully you got 136. Equals C squared. Next, we have to square root. So you put a square root sign around both sides. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. So I have to take the square root of 136. If you take the square root of 136, okay, I'm going to lay my calculator down here. It's a little snazzier than I like, but it'll work. I have to hit my second, and then I hit the square root sign, and I guess I'll turn it on first. That'd be a good sign. Okay. Pick it up and look at the calculator. The on button. Oh, down here. Okay, I found it now. Okay, so we're ready. So we hit the second button, square root, and I'm going to plug in 136. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. I plugged in 136 into my calculator, and I hit the equals, and it'll give you 11.66. We want to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to look at the hundreds place where there's a 6. And I'm going to say, okay, 5 and above, you give it a shove. So that means this 6 here in front of it is going to turn to a 7. So my answer here should be 11.7 equals C. Because remember, the square root will cancel the square, and I only have the C left. So my answer would be 11.7.